Mom, you only think about the wedding, and here I am falling apart. Okay, I'll return your deposits. What should I do with Benny now? I don't know. Only you know what you want, and only you can decide what to do. Sorry, Lynn, but it's out of my control. If you decide you still want Benny, then this time you'll have to go after him. First, you have to pull yourself together. Then you have to decide what you want. If this is life with Benny, you'll have to earn his trust again. Then you will have to woo him and convince him that he will have a safe life with you. You'll have to convince him that he won't find out that you're cheating on him again, or that he'll have to keep an eye on you. Honey, you will have a hard time winning him back and getting him to agree to the wedding again. And Lynn, don't screw it up. Second chances are rare, but no one has heard of a third chance. Lynn turned off the phone and spent the night thinking about her actions over the past week. She was in pain, but she understood that this pain was her own fault. She wrote to Benny, "I need to talk to you. I need to tell you that I'm sorry, face to face. I love you, Benny. Let me know where you are, and I'll come to you. Please, Benny, today was too hard without you. I can't be without you for the rest of my life." Benny had gotten into the habit of turning on his phone first thing in the morning and right after dinner. After reading the message, he felt a pit growing in his stomach. He felt his heart break again. Over the past 2 weeks, he had managed to push her out of his mind. He rode doggedly every day except one. He didn't have a full day of rest, but that day, he rode slowly and deliberately. It was the day they were supposed to get married. Lynn, look at this through my eyes. Now, I'll always see you with Donnie. I'm going south. Give me a day to get my head together, and I'll turn on the phone. You can find me on the GPS. They each spent the day lost in their own thoughts, remembering each other and their good times, and reflecting on the events that brought their relationship to the brink of death. She cried bitter tears, and he channeled his energy into the bicycle. She barely slept, and he fell exhausted on the bed in his hotel room. She woke up early and immediately launched the GPS app to track his phone. Nothing. She showered, got dressed, didn't put on makeup because she knew tears would ruin everything, and drove north to close the distance between them, wherever he was. Her mother was with her. Her bike was on the rack in the back. Benny also got up early, showered, shaved, and went downstairs from the hotel room for breakfast. After checking out his gear, he took out his phone and turned it on. He knew Lynn would see him as soon as the GPS loaded. He immediately received a signal that a message had arrived. In fact, it arrived an hour earlier. "Baby, I love you. I'm on my way. I'm halfway there. I'm so sorry, Benny. I really am." He drove off. She saw the dot as soon as it appeared in the GPS app on her phone, which was securely mounted in a holder on her dashboard. Her mother was driving. She didn't want to take any chances, and if he didn't stop to talk, she planned to catch up with him on her bike and argue her case while they rode. "He doesn't turn off the phone! Mom, the dot remains on the screen." "It's already a start, Lynn. At least he doesn't close the door." "Where is he?" "It's still near the Massachusetts border, but to the east of us. We can turn east on Highway 84. Looks like he's on Highway 7. We should catch him north of Danbury." When they turned off the road, they found themselves directly in front of the place where, judging by the point, he was steadily moving. Usually, she had no chance of staying close to his bike if he didn't want her to. He was driving too hard. But for a long trip, he had to carry several bags, which meant weight. She also knew that his legs were hardened but tired. Her feet will be fresh. She wasn't overweight, and she was motivated. He crested the hill in the distance and accelerated down the descent. She tried to wave at him, but he wouldn't stop. She got on her bike and was just about to join him when he rushed past, but before she could put her feet on the pedals, he braked and turned into the next parking lot. She pulled up next to him, and her mom started the car, keeping just enough distance that they could have privacy, but staying close in case she was needed. She knew Benny wouldn't physically harm her daughter, but if Lynn didn't get the answer she wanted, there was no telling how she might react. Lynn watched as her daughter climbed off her bike and joined Benny, who was sitting on the shady lawn next to the parking lot. "Well, did you have a good ride?" He hadn't looked her in the eye yet. She missed it. One of his sweetest habits was to look straight into the eyes of everyone he spoke to. This hypnotized his students to the point that they would eat out of his hands. This encouraged adults to follow him and made him a natural leader. He charmed women when he was single, to such an extent that after dinner and conversation, any woman was ready to climb into his bed. And if it was a woman he really cared about, they felt like he was crawling right into their minds and forcing them to love him. It made Lynn melt. When he finally turned to look her in the eyes, she fell apart. Everything started out really well. Then it sucked the worst. Then I took a break from my problems and the solitude. Well, it was wonderful. She knew he would, but it pained her to hear that he was better off alone, especially since he was talking about the days leading up to what was to be their wedding. "Benny, I'm so sorry. I know it's not enough, but I'm sorry. I somehow saw that you weren't against me having one last fling. I know I shouldn't have done this, and I know you're not that kind of guy, but I started to panic. I mean, I love you. I love you too much for words. You have a strange way of showing it. I know I deserve everything you say. I was just caught up in the moment. In my excitement, I perceived the forever with you part as limiting rather than joyful. I don't really feel that way, Benny. Eternity is what I want. Your photo should be in the dictionary under the definition of forever. You are my eternity. I was stupid to overlook this. It cost me my wedding day. It cost me you." Benny leaned back on the grass. He imagined a small cloud floating slowly over Lynn's head, and then imagined it darkening and opening, unleashing a fury of rain and lightning onto the 2-foot square plot of land occupied by his ex-fiancée. "Lynn, I don't know what you want to hear, but everything changed when you slept with Donnie. I still love you. That hasn't gone away. But now there is pain that balances this love. I just don't know how to go back to the way things were. It's obvious that you're not ready for an exclusive, lifelong relationship. You still have questions I can't answer and an itch I can't scratch. How can I trust that we will be compatible as a married couple? Benny, it's not like that. I was completely ready to settle down for life. I took everything I told you about marriage seriously. I really meant it. And then I found myself alone with Donnie, and it was as if I had entered another world or a parallel universe. I know it was stupid to just tell you I was going to do it and expect you to accept it. I knew it sounded like an order and left you no choice. I also knew that if I asked your permission, you would say hell no. But something told me that you loved me enough to let me do this. Why did I listen to this something more than to the voice that shouted, "It's because he loves you so much, you shouldn't do this"? I'll never know. This won't happen again, Benny. Never. It was so stupid, so blind. I just can't explain what came over me. I know, Benny answered, but his gaze was directed somewhere to the side. Lynn felt lost. A world where Benny didn't look you in the eye when he talked to you was a completely different world than the one she'd ever known. And this was not the world she wanted to get to know better. Lynn, that's why we couldn't get married and can't be engaged now. You can't explain it. And until you can, I'll never know when it might happen again. This is not a very good foundation for a lifetime exclusive partnership. Tears flowed naturally, but she cried silently. She was the one who caused this mess, not Benny. She had a chance to explain everything, but even to herself it sounded superficial. He deserved his chance to speak too. What would happen in the future if you went to that parallel universe where you could text me and run away with Mr. Right now? I didn't even have time to object. You threw my love into the dirt with one phrase, damn it. So our relationship is a partnership where one of us keeps the fire in the house and the other plays. This is not a partnership. And remember, I'm a guy. You took me by surprise. If I were to end my marriage now instead of running away from it, you would take half of my assets, give me alimony, and get full custody of the children. I would pay child support until they went to college. Family courts are on the woman's side. And yet you were the one who started the affair and broke my heart. You end up with hot sex, maybe a new lover, a house, kids, and all the money. I will live on a subsistence level. I won't be able to afford a good dinner, so I'll have to forget about my mistresses. And every weekend I'll take the children out of the house I scraped together the down payment to buy. Then I'd get my 2 days of visitation while you and your new lover are out on the town, thanks to my monthly child support check. Cool idea, right? And those children whom I will see 2 days out of every 14, they will grow up surrounded by their other dad, who will spend all his time with them, watch their first little league hit, and buy them the perfect gifts because he is with them 12 out of 14 days and knows them better than I do. Yes, this future looks bright to me, partner. So here it is. We didn't get married, we are no longer engaged, but this is not the end. I still love you, so you have some work to do, but we are no longer an exclusive couple. You know what I'm like. And obviously your little attempt let us both know that you're still curious about what other guys are like. Go and find out. If you want to keep dating me, I'm all for it. It's up to you to decide how long we will meet. This little adventure puts the work of courtship and relationship building in your hands. Just understand that while you're looking, I am too. I won't have an open marriage later, so get it out of my head now. Date, have sex, experiment, find yourself, whatever. Just remember that I won't keep the house on fire. You can't just come back to my house and pick up where you left off. It was Lynn's turn to be confused. On the one hand, Benny wasn't done with her. He left the door very wide open. On the other hand, he made it clear that she would have to win him back and that she would compete again. Benny was a find, so the competition will be fierce. She remembered a couple of years ago when they started dating. There were always rumors about him at school. Getting a date with Benny was a great success. He had a reputation as an old-school gentleman. He held doors open, stood up when a lady approached the table. He had the essence of a good guy. He was clean-shaven, well-groomed, smart, had excellent instincts, and the ability to communicate with people. He wasn't rich, but he always had enough money to pay for dates and pick them up in his own car. He looked good too, and, being an active triathlete, was very strong and fit. They didn't start dating until late in their senior year when they were both hired at the same school the following year. She began training with him, and by the summer, she was already participating in her own triathlon competitions, albeit over shorter distances than Benny. They both loved cycling and often rode together. Their sex life was a transcendental fantasy world of sensual love. While neither of them was against adventure in bed, they were both having too much fun in their long, slow, deliciously vanilla love life to need anything else. I will never succumb to this parallel universe again. I know it's easier for me to say than for you to believe, so I'll prove it to you. I don't know how I'll demonstrate this, but I'm going to win back your trust. First, I will relieve you of any reason to worry about a possible divorce. I'll sign a contract right now if you want. That will secure your finances. I know that after saving your coaching money for the past 3 years, you are ready to buy a house, so buy it. Even if we get married and it becomes our home, it will always be your home. Your salary, pension, investments, and bank accounts are also yours. Even the joint accounts we open to run our household will never be more than half mine if you divorce me. I said, if you get divorced, because if I get you back, I will never let you go, much less file for divorce. What about children? I will not accept any world in which you are less than 50% involved in raising our children. If you divorce me, I will buy a house next door, because you will be waiting for more than every weekend and alternating holidays. Oh, and if you decide you want something more than vanilla in bed, I'll be happy to help. I like our vanilla love life, but if you want to change it up from time to time, just say so. This doesn't include others, so forget about threesomes and orgies. Just you and me in our bed, baby. Well, maybe our children, from time to time, but no other lovers. So what about an open marriage? No problem. You are my Mr. Right now. You are also my Mr. Right. You are my one and only Mr. Benny, and I will not rest until you and I are married and living in our home. Lynn stood up and waved to her mom. I need to go and finish, Mom. I need to pick up my car in Montauk, so I'll be a few days late. When I stop in the evening, I'll call you and tell you everything, but I'm moving home for a while. See you in a few days." She walked over to her bike and took the helmet from the seat. She began to strap it on and turned to Benny. So we started the trip together. But along the way, we lost our way. Maybe we can finish it together? I don't know, Lynn. It is too early. I still feel insecure. Cool cookies, Benny. I guess part of your deal was that I decide when we will date. Well, baby, that's the way it is, and I keep your promise. Our first date after getting engaged culminates with the last date we had as bride and groom. That means this trip. Now I expect you to take me home safe and sound and walk me to the door. Are you going to be a gentleman or what? She smiled at him, and in an instant she got on her bike and took off down the road. He watched her rush away, as if daring him to come and get her. He heard Lynn's mom pull up next to him in her car. Are you okay, Benny? No, not really. She screwed up big time, Benny. She knows it. Benny just nodded in agreement. If I were you, it would be difficult for me to come to terms with this. Right now, it's a tough choice whether you follow her or go in another direction, isn't it? Yes, ma'am, it is. She knew you wouldn't go after her right away, Benny. She expected you to wait and watch. They did just that. They watched her pedal along the long, flat road. The road went along the valley along the stream. At this point, they could see far. Benny, I wouldn't blame you if you went the other way. I hope you won't do this, because I will be glad if you become my son-in-law. So let me give you a couple of pieces of food for thought. Actually, it wasn't Lynn. I don't know where it came from, but I know that she loves you, and you will never see it again. I'm so sure of this that if you take her back, marry her, and she cheats on you, I will hire and pay for the most brutal divorce lawyer in the state. By the way, I know her. This is my cousin Lucille. This made Benny grin. Moreover, I will hire her to draw up an ironclad marriage contract for you, to which I will be a party. I will become a party to it, because I will back up my guarantees with part of this contract, and Lucille, just in case, will be obliged to represent you. Bernie watched Lynn thoughtfully as she approached the foot of a distant hill. You also have to ask yourself, will you be better off without her? No matter how terrible her actions were, are they so bad that your life will be better if she is gone? Lynn was already a tiny figure, rising up the next hill in the distance. And the last thing, as long as you are together, she will be obliged to you, regardless of whether you remind her about this day directly or not. Throw a tiny wedding ceremony. Hell, run away. So she'll remember how screwed she is every time she sees pictures of her small, non-church, no bridesmaids, no big white dress wedding. She will remember what she missed. Still, I don't want to hurt her. Just because she crashed my parade doesn't mean I want to ruin her dreams. Oh, you don't need to destroy anything. She believes she has already done it. At this point, she'll be thrilled if you two just show up to court one day in jeans and t-shirts. Now she perceives this as losing you. You will not destroy, you will become a hero. However, they watched her climb to the top of the hill. She will also know that she owes you. She will bend over backwards to prove that she loves you and only you. She will do anything to prove how wonderful she thinks you are. You'll have the food you love, sex whenever you like and as often as you like, and best of all, you'll have the remote control. He laughed a little more, then turned to her. How do you know? I'm her mother. I'm just like her. I know how I would feel if I lost you. Don't be surprised if you don't take her back, then I'll come and call. You are so hot. She laughed at her own joke. And then she looked at him seriously. You know, you will have a free pass from the prison card. He looked at her incredulously. It was his own mother-in-law who told him that he could spend the night with another woman with impunity. At this thought, her eyes flashed fiercely. You know that I will never be able to use this. I know. She charmed him towards her daughter. Her reasoning was sound and logical, but it didn't quite make up for the Donnie-sized hole he still felt in his heart, and her teasing deserved retribution. But if I use the free pass, my beautiful mother-in-law will be the first person I call. His smile was mischievous and matched her teasing. He got on his bike as Lynn disappeared over the next hill. "You better hurry up. She's running away." "No, I'm not going to chase her. They've been chasing her all her life. I, for one, have had enough. I already told her that I would be there, but I had already finished courtship. Now it's her turn. She moved forward without me in many ways. She will have to learn to look over her shoulder and, for a change, catch something behind her. Won't you follow her?" "Of course, for a while. But instead of taking Highway 7 all the way south, I'll take some more scenic roads. If she's not careful, she'll chase the GPS point instead of riding with me." "You certainly aren't going to make it easy for her, are you?" "No. I feel that there is a fairly high probability that you will not become my son-in-law anytime soon." "Right." He pedaled. She watched him drive down the same road her daughter had been driving down a few minutes earlier. Only when she was racing, he was a little slower and very stable. Where her daughter slowed and struggled up the distant hill, Benny maintained the pace. She almost called her daughter to warn her to slow down and wait for Benny. But it seemed wrong to her to warn about this. Her daughter treated her fiancé shamefully. She had to understand that marriage is not a series of sprints like Lynn's. It requires a strong, steady, omnipresent tempo like Benny's. It required teamwork and partnership limited to only 2 people. He handled this bike beautifully, even with the added weight of loaded racks. She hoped he would catch up with Lynn, and for a second, she imagined Benny would live up to his joke and take advantage of the free pass with her. So much time had passed since her husband died that she could have gotten lost in a late-night game. "No!" She emerged from her reverie. "It belongs to Lynn." Her eyes were still sparkling with the what-ifs as he walked to the top of the hill. Then she dreamed of a beautiful scene in which he descends from the other side to Lynn, who is waiting for him, whom he picks up in his arms and carries to the nearest. He didn't follow Lynn down the hill. Before reaching the point where Lynn disappeared from sight, Benny turned right onto a smaller road. Lynn will be chasing GPS points all day. This, thought Lynn's mother. It's not over yet. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one.